is how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, self-concept, how you view yourself, your mindset, your self-talk. And ultimately, if we came back to your core identity, has everything to do with how you show up in life, has everything to do. It influences your health and your fitness, influences the relationships in your life, the kind of people you attract into your life, the kind of business and sales and success in your life in any area, from home to business to money to love. Your sense of self-worth is at the foundation, the core, the nucleus of what you're manifesting, what you're repelling, what you're attracting, what you're cultivating into your life. Is how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself has, again, everything to do with how you show up in life.
Hey, it's your coach, Jess Gunn, and the host of the Stronger You podcast, where we cut out all the noise and we get honest talking about what really matters to us. We'll chat about everything from how you feel about yourself to all things food and exercise, and also how to best navigate our sometimes crazy days as we focus on doing our best to create a strong mind and body so that we can feel, move, and look our best. I really hope you enjoy this episode. I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about today, and I have one of my favorite people with me. We've got our guest, Tiffany Peterson, here with us today. And there are so many things, every time you and I get together, I leave thinking we could talk about this for so many hours. This topic I want to pick your brain on. You're so good at this. You resonate with this. And so the topic today, I'm excited to be able to share with everyone, because I think having an idea of our own self-worth, self-belief, confidence is really at the root of most of what we do. And so I'm excited to be able to learn from you on how we can develop that and how we nurture that and how we find that sometimes within ourselves. And so before we start though, I want to take a second and I want you to share all about you. Why, like, I know the amazing things, but it's from being with you and how genuine and kind you are and how much I enjoy our conversations. But tell people kind of what you do, where they can find you, all of the things.
Well, it's so good to be with you. I mean, don't we just love Jess, everyone? Of course you're listening to this. And when Jess and I met somewhere in the last year, I just had this like immediate draw and connection. And you just used the word genuine. And I was like, she is just so genuine. And I think we can all relate to this, right? Is that the older we get, the more it's like you have to be more, you're more aware of like, you only have so much time. Who do you want to spend it with? And genuine people and what they're up to. But I just love your energy, your vibe, your essence, what you're creating. And like she said, every time we get together for lunch or gathering, it's like we could always be there for several hours. So we won't be here on this show for several hours, although we could be, right?
The hardest part is saying, okay, if we want to get together, what of all the topics do we talk about, right? Yeah. And so I wanted something that is most important to you that you're passionate about.
Yeah. I think this topic for me is so near and dear to my heart. They say I forget the gentleman, it was a man author that would say, we teach most what we need to learn. And when I think about self-worth, self-love, self-confidence, these are topics that impact every single one of us. So whether you're 22 or 92, and whether, again, you're male or female, it's like this is a topic that influences all of us, because your self-worth, your self-esteem, I had an early mentor in my life say, you will perform to your self-esteem. And truthfully, when I first heard him say that,
I was think about that for a second.
I was in a brand new sales position and new to selling. I was never going to be in sales, by the way, right? So the life path that I'm on, and I do a lot of business coaching and helping people grow their sales and so forth. But how do you help grow your sales begins with self-worth and self-esteem. And when I heard him say that, you will perform to your self-esteem, is how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, self-concept, how you view yourself, your mindset, your self-talk. And ultimately, if we came back to your core identity, has everything to do with how you show up in life, has everything to do. It influences your health and your fitness, influences the relationships in your life, the kind of people you attract into your life, the kind of business and sales and success in your life in any area, from home to business to money to love. Your sense of self-worth is at the foundation, the core, the nucleus of what you're manifesting, what you're repelling, what you're attracting, what you're cultivating into your life. Is how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself has, again, everything to do with how you show up in life. And so I love this topic, and why it's so near and dear to my own heart is that sometimes I reference this season of my life. I don't know about you, Jess, but did you love junior high?
No, not really.
No, not really.
It was when I was my tallest and everyone else had stopped growing.
Yeah.
So I was like this super tall beanpole, and that's all that I remember. It wasn't very nice.
Right. How many of you listening loved junior high? Because if you did, you're probably a
Or
unicorn.
you've blocked it.
Yeah.
It was
Most
not
of
great.
us didn't. And so sometimes I think about being what I call my 8th grade self. And my 8th grade self, she's highly insecure. You know, it's like constantly like taking a pulse. Am I wearing the right thing? How do I look? How do I sound?
She's trying to figure yourself out.
Right. And sometimes even as a grown woman, I still have those same thoughts and feelings. So they're not necessarily new feelings. So sometimes even though we'll put on the jacket or the outfit or, you know, and again, a lot of these things have evolved. But I think about this work and it goes back to those roots where I didn't have self-confidence. If you look at my social media today, you'd never guess that. But I still at times, right? I still have at times my insecurities come back or pop up. I like to say the weeds always return, just like in your garden.
Yeah.
But when you have tools, you don't have to be afraid. Like I'm not afraid of weeds showing up in my physical garden because I have tools to remove them. And when we develop tools and skills and practices, you still get to be the author of your life, the architect of it, and get to say, no, confidence, first and foremost, is a choice. And it's also a habit. And so just like someone that's in your world and they're practicing healthier habits, which by the way, I just love following you because you always keep me inspired with my physical fitness, but also you touch on mindset too. But is having certain tools that help you develop those habits that help you have that. But I think for all of us, right? Like you talk about junior high and you're like, I was super tall, lean beanpole. Well, I was so short, this tiny little thing. And it's like for me, we all have these awarenesses, but I was this tiny little scrawny stick who had no boobs, no hips, no curves, right? And I'm a natural redhead. I love being a redhead now. Hated it as a kid.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I know, but I hated it as a kid, right? Like you probably were self-conscious about your height and mine, my hair and whatnot. And I was this tiny little stick, glow in the dark white, like, cause I'm so fair skinned, right? Like I've got self-tanner on now, friends, right? I'm so grateful for self-tanner. But the point being, we all have something, whether we're too tall, too short, we're too curvy, not curvy enough.
Yeah. Have you ever heard anyone say, I love all of me and I always have?
No, never.
I don't know if I can name one person that said that.
Now I meet more and more women today who are doing the work that say, I really like who I am now.
And we can accept it.
And I'm more comfortable in my own skin now. But all of us, again, male or female, can relate to at times our own insecurities. And so again, my professional path, I help a lot of individuals grow their sales, grow their income, take their platform to a next level type thing. However, we always work on the inner work too. So sometimes people say, are you a sales coach or a life coach? And it's like, yes, I'm a hybrid, right? Of both, do the inner work, because partly how you sell anything in life has to do with confidence, right? If you want to make more sales, increasing your confidence will help you do that.
Well, that's even growing my own business. As I think about it, as you're saying these things, the thought is, yes, there's always things that I don't know how to do technically, right? Like how do you do a launch, right? I've never done a launch, so you could teach me how to walk through a launch. But there's more of my roadblocks with running a business is the mindset shift of, am I capable of doing this? Can I handle this? Like, it's kind of the imposter syndrome, which is lack of confidence. Like so-and-so can do this, but am I okay to do this? A lot of that comes back to the confidence of owning and knowing, yes, what I have is value, can help somebody.
I'm so loving the work that's more and more coming forward around what we'd call identity work, right? Like there's a great book, if you've never read it, called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I really should get affiliate money from that guy. I have promoted that book so many places.
It's so
I
good,
don't,
though.
by the way. It's so good. I re-listen to it or read it every single year, at least once a year. I've done that for now almost 4 or 5 years. But one of the things he talks about, because habits, right? Most of us say, okay, what are the habits I need? And you can, we think about health and fitness. What are my health and fitness habits? And most of us can rattle off some basics, right?
Yeah.
Now they're going to hire you or join your app because they want specific and they want to be trained by an expert, right? But most of us know general ideas of basics for habits to be healthy. But when he talks about when you move from habits, right? Behaviors to habits, from habits to identity. See, when my identity is I'm a fit person, then I make fit choices. If my identity is I struggle all the time to be fit, then that will influence our choices, right? He gives the example of a woman in that book who lost over 100 pounds. I don't care who you are losing 100 pounds, even losing 50 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Weight loss is
25
hard.
pounds.
It's
You
not
think about
easy.
like, that's a whole person, 100 pounds. And what she did is she started re-scripting her mindset. Multiple times a day, she put the question in front of her, what would a healthy person choose? Again, the identity, if I'm a healthy person, I love the language vivacious. Am I my radiant self? Right? When I think about
Those are very good
confidence, I want to be a
words.
vibrant woman, radiant woman. Then naturally I'm making choices that help me align to that. So this woman back again in his book lost over 100 pounds by daily, several times a day, asking the question, what would a healthy person choose? What would a healthy person
Choosing
choose?
identity.
Yes.
Because you have to switch. I
Right.
mean, that's what I tell everybody is the identity that I have is someone that maybe got me 40 pounds overweight or
Right.
the body shape or how I feel, move, and look.
Right.
And you have to almost rethink everything that you do with your daily routine and become someone else. And so if that's a great point to think of. If you're changing the identity to someone that now wakes up earlier or is someone that exercises instead of I'd like to exercise.
Right. So some of you, again, it's like in your identity and your mindset, your belief lens is how do you see yourself is a really great question for your listeners to take on and do some journaling to. How do I see myself? And now let's move it to who do I choose to be? I choose to be a radiant woman. That's one of my favorite words, right?
That's
and
a
that's
good
in
word.
my
It's not a
own,
word I think about
I am
so
a radiant woman, right? And that's, again, I just said I am, not I hope to be, I will be, I'm working at. I am a radiant woman. I'm a vibrant woman. I'm a successful woman. I'm a feminine woman. I'm a strong woman. I'm whatever, again, identity work is choosing into that language, but knowing that it's a choice, self-confidence, your self-worth is a habit. And I want to just distinguish two quick things. Self-worth, I believe, is eternal and it already exists. Like I already see you and everyone listening as already perfectly worthy. Now that's a unique thought because a lot of times we think we earn our worth. You're already worthy. That is eternal. You can't change it. Your worth exists no matter what. It's right. If I held up a $100 bill and said, how much is this worth? $100. What if I put sparkly glitter on it? It's not worth more or less. It's worth $100. What if I like get mud on it or I spill grease on it and it's like damaged now? Nope. Still worth $100.
So even if people tell you you're damaged,
Right.
you're not good enough, you failed.
Right.
Your
And
value
we all
and
have
worth
those
is still that
stories, right?
same.
Don't we? We all have those stories. Your worth is eternal, but what ebbs and flows all the time is your sense of self-confidence. So I want you guys to think about what helps me feel, because what you're after is a feeling. Most times when we're after any goal we want in life, we want to make more money, you're after a feeling. You think more money is going to give you a sense maybe of security and so forth. Now, I would love for you to make more money if that's what you want, right? Because more money does create more choices is what money does, right? More access, more choices. But you're after a feeling. When people hire you or join your app and it's like, I want to feel more fit. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel confident. I want to feel, right? When people say, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to meet the love of my life because I want to feel that. I have met the love of my life and it's worth all those
And you guys are the
beautiful
cutest
feelings.
couple.
I just freaking love my husband.
The cutest
He
couple.
is incredible. And I was single, married, divorced, single a while, right? Like we've had a lot in common together. But a lot of like the feelings I want to feel and a lot of the work I did before I met him helped put me into alignment to manifesting, if you want to call it that. Or I just love the word alignment to that relationship. And I still, though, here's the thing, even though the love of my life's in my life, guess who's fully responsible for my happiness? Me. And where we often get a lot of relationships wrong, and I've done it for a lot in my life, is making someone else responsible for my happiness. And so giving myself the sense of how am I going to show up for me, take care of me? That's where we move into the self-care conversation. But just distinguishing again, self-worth, you're already worthy. I am worthy. You are worthy. Now, some of you are having a reaction to me saying that language right now because you're like, but Tiff, I don't feel worthy.
Or other people have said I'm not.
Yep. My mom, my dad, my school teacher, my coach, this person, the person that broke my heart, broke up with me, cheated on me, betrayed me. You know, someone else really hurt me. And I have huge empathy for that because I have my own wounds we could talk about. We won't, but they're there. Is that, and have empathy for that. But it's just the awareness that you're already worthy. Now you may not feel worthy because similar, my own worth feelings sometimes ebb and flow, but my worth already exists. Just like the sun is in the sky or the moon, it just is. It exists. Whether we have opinions about it or not, it exists. Your worth exists. But your self-confidence ebbs and flows all the time. And for people to know that difference, that your feelings don't always mean truth. Again, another early mentor of mine said, Tiff, feelings aren't facts. They're feedback. Just because you feel something doesn't make it true.
Yeah, that's another one I have to stop and think about, because it's so easy to program your brain to condition yourself to think that way.
Right. But sometimes, again, when we're making our happiness outside of us, it's like, I just need to make more money. Well, how much money is enough? Or once I have more followers on Instagram or TikTok, then well, how many is enough?
Yeah.
Because once you get to, let's say your goal is 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. I promise you, once you get to 100,000 followers, you're still going to be like, well, but so-and-so, I want to be at 250,000 or I want this. We always, we're kind of, if we're not mindful, which there's nothing wrong with wanting more. Don't make yourself wrong for wanting more. Just being aware that you're often after a feeling. And so when people say, I want to make more money, or I want love in my life, or I want to win that award, right? And it's like, if you can give yourself more, not perfectly, give yourself more of what you're wanting, more love, more affirmation, more, I see you, I've got you, I believe in you, I'm proud of you. You're filling your own cup and you become so much more magnetic. And therefore you become easier to attract what you want. And so anytime someone hires me and they say, I've seen what you've done with so-and-so's brand or so-and-so's business, I want to hire you to coach me. I want to grow my sales. I want to grow my platform. I want to launch a book or a podcast. I want to, take my business, my direct sales business. I want to go to the top in that company or whatever they're up to business-wise. We always start with self-love and self-care. And we bring the validation home and we come home. I love that language, coming home to yourself, but giving yourself that self-love, that affirmation, because doing so makes you this powerful, palpable force. So a lot of times the irony, so when people hire me to grow their sales, before I can touch their sales funnel, which is important to have, their sales scripting, their messaging, and their marketing, alignment to that. But we start, number one sales strategy is self-care. And we start helping them get in alignment with their word, taking care of themselves, their joy list, things that bring them joy, that light them up, things around their health and wellness habits. I'll be like, hey, go follow Jess and help with that part, right? But in truly, it's like, hey, I'm going to take better care of me, mind, body, heart, and spirit, all of those, what I call the core four, those core areas. Then they already start making more sales before I've even touched their sales strategy.
They've almost found that inner peace and that acceptance.
Yeah, because you know what that is? It's energy. And everything's energy, right? When you see a magnetic person walk into a room, you notice, right? And there's times you feel like her or him, and then there's times you definitely don't. But everything is energy. We live in a vibrational based universe, right? So there's a vibration. You have a vibration, which is when I met you, I was like, zing. Yeah. I love her vibe,
we
her
could talk
essence,
for hours.
100%. There's certain colors or patterns or brands or places or people that I'm just drawn to because, again, everything has an energy. And then on the flip side, there's people, brands, and places I'm definitely, because energetically I'm like, yep, that's not the vibe I'm after or what I want. My
next question I was going to ask you is, because I will be in a room of women, different settings, and you gravitate towards certain people, right? So at the end of the night, maybe we go together, split up. At the end of the night, I'm like, who'd you talk to? Who'd you talk to? And it's interesting how it's like, oh, I didn't have a desire to talk to that person, or I did for a minute and it just didn't click, or I don't know, we just kind of went our different ways. And maybe that's due to the energies connecting or on your same vibration, or how you just naturally gravitate towards people.
Right. And so again, I like the word magnetic, and it's like, if to help someone be more magnetic, it's like how we are, what are the things we're practicing, how we're showing up for ourselves. But similar to your point, it's like there are definitely people you're drawn to, people you love to follow. You're in Jess's universe. If you ask yourself, again, basic branding, why are you here listening to this podcast today? Why are you in her community and part of her things at some level? If you look at, now you'll be able to also logically say, hey, she delivers quality content, legit. I mean, this woman over delivers all the time. But if you look at it, at some level, you'll be like, I just like her energy. I like her vibe. I like this. You might not use the words energy or vibe, but it's like, hey, the people that I work with, and the same thing. It's like, ooh, I was just drawn to you, or I've followed you for a while, or these things, because there's some kind of magnetic draw.
What I like to think of, almost almost like a safe space, if that's kind of an odd word to use. But when you meet somebody, especially we're a lot of health and wellness, right? And coaching people. And that's the main thing is a lot of the women that reach out to me that will say, well, if you're at the point of needing a coach, whether with a business or with an individual with maybe let's say a fat loss, goal, a lot of times they're lacking that confidence, right? If you're coming to a coach, it's because you're not able to do that on your own, or you want the support or the love or the knowledge. And a lot of times as they open up, it's a vulnerable thing, right? And you connect. And so that's, I think, my main goal of, I just want to create a safe space for somebody so that they feel like they are good enough with me. There's no judgment. There's no, well, you should be farther along, or why aren't you doing this? Or you failed, and I realize, why is that important for me to create with people I speak to and I want to help? And it's because it's something that I crave. Like, I like it. And that's what I feel like when we had first met, since is genuine is the word I always use to describe you. It's like, you listen, like you genuinely hear and listen when I'm speaking to you or asking you advice or chatting about something. And all of that goes back to probably, I feel like you're such a great example of being at peace with who you are. Right? We understand our faults. We're not perfect, but you're at peace with, these are the things I excel at, maybe things I'm working at, but you're happy with you. And that's, to me, someone that creates a safe space, because then that means you're going to be okay with me. I feel like the more peace you have with you, you're open to then loving, as where at times where if I'm insecure, or if I'm not in a great place with my own self-confidence, when I'm with others, I tend to be a little more critical or judgmental or jealous, right? Because my own inner peace isn't safe. And it just goes back to those energies. So as you're talking, I'm thinking of all these different relationships I have where I show up, other people show up. And how important it is, I think, just as a friend, as a mom, as a person, to find that peace if we can within ourselves, so that we are that safe place for people to talk, especially as a coach.
Well, first of all, thank you for that, because that's like reflection back, right? Of thinking that it's like that you like yourself and you're at peace and comfortable in your own skin. And I just want to normalize that these are habits I work at.
Yes.
So it's kind of like if I went 3 or 4 days without doing a workout or walking, that energy would drop. And it's doing the things that I know are going to help me regularly. Again, that's why I'm saying there's choices, behaviors, habits, and then into identity, where that is more so the identity. It's still a work in progress, but for sure, it's like I'm kinder to me and I like me more than I ever have. And there's still room for growth there. And I still have moments where I think, gosh, Tiff, get it together. And oh man, that wrinkle or that the judgments
it's
come
easy
in.
to pick apart.
I'm still a human, but it's like I wanted to be, and this is something I invite all of you to consider, is to choose to make friends with yourself. Now that might sound a little interesting or a little woo-woo, but truly is to be at peace with yourself. Most of you listening, just because of the nature of humans, we're more often likely to be critical of ourselves than loving and supportive to ourselves, right? We're going to be more like, oh gosh, I'm behind on the laundry, right? That thing that I shouldn't have, or gosh, I dropped the ball here, or I'm not as pretty or popular or great at this. I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm this thing, I'm that thing, I'm whatever. Is most of you listening tend to be harder on yourselves. That's just the nature of humans, especially women, which is mostly who we're talking to today. And my male and female clients, men have this too. Men are big tender hearts underneath their exterior as well. But women more so tend to be challenged more with self-doubt and the self-talk, in my experience, right? And so it's just being aware to be like, what if I could choose to become, like use the word safe. I remember giving a keynote talk once, and that was the core question to the audience. What if you could become the safest place you know? Because sometimes they'll say, where's the safest place you know or love to visit? And it's like, oh, my grandma's house always felt safe, or my parents' home, or my home, or, this beach house or family cabin had such a, safe experience, like environment for me. And it's like, okay, what if you could become the safest place you know?
See, that's not something I've thought about.
Right. Most of us haven't. And so choosing to say, if listening to this right now, I invite you to make a declaration, write it down, say it out loud, put your hand on your heart. You might be driving, you might be with kids, you might be sitting and listening and writing notes, wherever you might be in this moment, is make a declared decision, a declaration. I choose to have a better relationship with me. I choose to be kinder to me. I choose to be my own best friend or my best cheerleader. And it's a choice. And again, you might not feel that way today. Or even what, as I say that, some of you might have some, ooh, that feels weird or awkward. I'm not doing that. Because what I just said was a form of intimacy, right? And the word intimacy, when we hear the word intimacy, we often think usually with someone else, whether sexual or emotional. Exactly. But when you break down the word intimacy, is you look at it this way. Now, this isn't mine. I heard it from someone else. I don't remember who. But intimacy, you look at that word as into me, I see.
I've never heard of that.
Right? Many people hadn't. But into me, I see. Intimacy. And so when I said, I want you to write down right now, declare, I choose to have a better relationship with me. And if you really want to amp this up, get in front of a mirror right now and eye to eye, because eye contact's a form of intimacy. And you say, I'm going to choose to take better care of you. I'm going to be kinder to you. I want to have a better relationship with you. All of you can make that declaration today. And remember, it's not about getting this perfect, because it isn't. Like any relationship, relationships ebb and flow and they progress. Mm-hmm. And you work at them, though, if you're intentional to say, just like my husband and I have a really great relationship. Perfect? No. Intentional? Yes. And there's times our emotions are really palpable and strong. Deep gratitude, deep connection, deep passion, all of that. But it's about being intentional. As I would never expect to have a thriving relationship with him without intentionally investing. Would you ever expect to be healthy and fit without intentionally investing? No. But same with yourself. Is where most people get this wrong in the conversation of self-confidence. It's like they just think, well, I'm going to wake up in the right mood or not wake up in the right mood, not knowing you're the one that dictates and guides the mood by your habits, choices, thoughts, from your mind to your body, and both the mind-body connection. We want to do things that influence that. And so it's like when you think, oh, I'm just never been confident, Tiff, or I've struggled with self-confidence my whole life, or I'm still stuck being my 8th grade self. I feel you, friend.
Yeah.
But you have a choice here. It's like, I'm going to choose to intentionally invest in that relationship with myself. I'm going to choose to have a better relationship with me. I know in the past, maybe it's like, gosh, I've been so hard on myself, or I've struggled with even, eating disorders or cutting, or who knows? I mean, extreme examples of self-harm and ways that it's like, hey, okay, I've really struggled with this. I feel you. It's safe here. Jess creates this environment. But realizing today you can make a declaration is not a perfect one, but a nourished, vibrant, intentional relationship with yourself. Your relationship with you sets the tone for every other relationship you have. So part of the relationship I'm in now, I couldn't have had in my 20s because of what I went through in the life. And sometimes your heartbreak, sometimes my friends, your heartache and your heartbreak is such a beautiful door to having a deeper relationship with you. And it hurts in the moment. Oh, it's
like
scary.
Being alone and like just sitting and being with just me and analyzing, how do I feel? Why am I feeling this? I don't like how I feel this.
Yeah.
And it's just, let's find something to cover, because I don't want to deal with the emotions underneath.
Yeah. But what I see for a lot of women, again, that's who we're mostly talking to, and they'll slide in my DMs, I want what you've got. How'd you create that? And it's like, well, the work is, ladies, I mean, we could do a whole show on this because I feel like we're going to get into like secret sisterhood stuff right now. Women, you are the ones setting the bar in your relationship. They don't always know that. But part of the great relationship I have is because of the level of self-healing and self-work I did before I met Brett, and that I continue to do after meeting him.
And continue is the key word.
That's continue. Because see, again, a lot of times like, oh, I met the love of my life. Yes. Great. He's now going to fulfill all my needs and my happiness. No, I have to be doing all my self-work. But part of that is the relationship we have and the way that he shows up for me and the way I show up for him is both of us have not perfect, but a deeper sense of self-trust, self-love, self-respect. He's had to do a lot of work, still doing it. I've had to do a lot of work, still doing it. Mm-hmm. No one's perfect. But you yourself, you can't control your partner. It's how are you going to show up for yourself? Give yourself the love you want. Maybe right now, on your way home or wherever you're at, it's like grab your favorite Starbucks or cupcake. Yeah. You can have treats here too.
We have a treat every day. That's my motto.
Yeah,
have
but
something yummy
or book
every day.
that massage or get that manicure or pedicure or go by Barnes and Noble and like wander the books if that's one of your favorite things, and doing more things. I call that a joy list. Here's an assignment I want you all to commit to is on a blank sheet of paper, draw a line right down the middle. And top left, and at the very top right, my joy list. Top left, I want you to write the $. This column costs money. Top right, no $. this column doesn't cost money, and come up with ideally 12 things in each category, 24 things total, 12 things that cost money, 12 things that don't, things that bring you joy. And you date yourself. If you're single right now, awesome. Revel in that. I got to a point, I love my single life.
And it forces you to learn,
which is also why I have the relationship I have now, is I was truly comfortable. While I was craving and at times like, ooh, still really wanting that love in my life, I really genuinely loved my life when I met my person. Now, it took work to get there. But it's like, hey, take yourself on a date. Sometimes I'd go down to Barnes & Noble, get a hot cocoa and wander and just pick up what books I was drawn to, right? Or just go by my favorite cafe or meet with a friend or go to a movie or read a book, get a massage, manicure, pedicure, go hike and get on a trail, paddle boarding.
Be okay with you.
Yeah. And again, having a rich life isn't just solo. Like that included great friends. But the reality of that was when I met him, I genuinely, for the most, like foundationally, was at peace with me. And he'll even tell you, if he was here right now, because he said this on other shows, part of him being attracted to me was she was genuinely really happy on her own. Like I didn't have to show up and quote, save the day and fix that and so forth. And again, we could be here forever because we could talk all about dating and so forth.
I was just going to say, like, that's another great topic.
I know, because it is, but it's again, whether it's dating and love. If you've been married for 20 years and you're like, the spark's kind of dwindled, or do I want to stay married? Well, start dating yourself and pull the energy back on you versus, well, my husband or my partner or my girlfriend, my wife isn't doing X, Y, and Z. You bring it back to yourself, come home to yourself, because whether you're single or married, it's complicated. Yeah. You got to show up for you. And so again, some of you are saying, but I want to attract more sales and money. Great, show up for you. I want to get promoted. I want to be in better friend circles. I want these things. Great, show up for you.
Oh, there are so many things.
Right?
Everything
Isn't this
you
rich?
say,
I love this topic.
Wait, I got another topic. So I want to even take it way back. So let's even like break it down even further.
Okay.
Where do you think, I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this, like self-confidence, worth, being okay with ourselves. And I'm not saying like, there's always things I'm like, I've got a ball on the end of my nose. My kids constantly make fun of it. It's like, oh, the ski
the
jump.
cutest nose.
And I'm like, it's my nose, it's just little things, right?
Totally.
My feet aren't as cute as other people. Like we always have things that are just interesting, but it's just physical things. They're what they are. But like when we talk about self-worth and how a lot of women struggle with this, we've gone through phases ourselves. Where does that start from? Like, it's interesting because I've got two sisters, and we've never really had massive issues with that. It's just kind of like acceptance. I'm the tall, gangly one. I was always made fun of at literally just shy of 6 feet, at 15 years old.
Yeah, which is like you're a model, honey.
No, super skinny.
Like I could never walk a runway being my little shorts. Yeah, but you could.
Barely over 100 pounds, and I wasn't athletic. So I couldn't even use it for like the nice height. So there were things that I big, poofy, funny, curly hair. Definitely, on the book Smart, they joked about being nerdy, whatever. And I was just always okay with that. I was never in the popular group or crowd, and I was just okay with it. So my sisters, we've all said like we all have our faults, things we aren't great at, things we've struggled with, things we don't like about ourselves, things people have told us, but we've never really, really struggled with that crippling self-confidence issue. And I now working with so many women, there are so many that it's every piece of them is from, like you said, comparing it to another sibling, comparing it to a neighbor, comparing it to a friend, comparing it to someone online, they just don't ever feel good enough. And that's honestly why I started my business, is I was sitting in a room at a presentation, and it was all on this topic. And I remember just feeling like I couldn't necessarily relate to it was a woman that had really, really struggled with this. And it moved you all to tears, just broken on the inside of feeling that she was never good enough. And I remember just thinking, but you are enough. And I was like, but I feel that. Albeit all of the things I suck at. So my sisters, back to this, we will say, so why do the three of us, we're all just okay with the good and the bad? Does it come from parenting? Is it genetic? Is it environmental? So I guess that's the question, is to help women embrace them and own and love their bodies and say, I am enough. Where does it even start from, the lack of self-confidence? Do you think it's parenting? Is it just born with it? Is it schooling?
Well, I mean, yes. We could be here for all of those things because they're factors, they're influences, right? And all of us, no matter the childhood we came from, some of you had an incredible checked in mom or father. Some of you even won the lottery and had both, right? But then you have wounds from the other that maybe wasn't as, or sibling this, or you got made fun of for that, or classmates or kids or things. And again, a lot of it's just story in our head, Jess. Here's the thing, like the biggest fear people have of why they don't do more of their gift or their talent, like when I'm saying, hey, show up more.
Yeah.
In their thing, it's what will other people think of me?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Everyone's already thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
we're too busy.
Everyone's so
critiquing
self-focused that heavily that's the case. But a lot of times what's happening is we're waiting for permission. And at some level, and you can do this literally in this moment, you can just make a new decision. See, a lot of times we think change is hard, don't we? We think,
oh yeah,
losing the weight's hard, doing these things are hard, healing this brokenness is hard, getting into a great relationship, starting that business, hard, or it takes a long time. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes those things aren't challenging or sometimes they do require time. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit.
Yeah.
That's natural law of the universe, right? But you can start practicing habits immediately today. Your mindset habits, your body habits, your joy habits, your self-talk habits, and you can make a decision in an instant, right? Because technically we change our lives in an instant. We say, I do, I'm done. This ends with me and my lineage or my choice, or it starts today, it stops today. You can decide in a moment, I'm choosing to have a better relationship with me. Now, again, where most of you get tangled, where I would get tangled, where all of us get tangled is, but I don't feel confident yet.
Yes.
Once I feel confident, then I'll show up more that way.
Yeah.
Once
so
I
that's a whole
feel,
topic
so again,
right
we're back to, but can you take ownership for a truth, even if you don't feel that way? Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. I choose today, I'm going to have a better relationship with me. I choose today, no matter what the past has been. But the question you're asking is that all of us, again, were being raised by other humans. Those other humans had their insecurities, their wounds, their generational stuff passed down. Mm-hmm. We're all doing the best we know how.
Yes.
And again, I even had this thought on my walk this morning, which is one of my self-care love habits, is I like to walk in the morning, especially right now at the time of this recording in summertime, right?
Yes.
Before it gets super hot. I'm working towards 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day and then workouts, 3-4 times a week, right?
That's perfect.
And so I'm like, I move every morning. And so part of this thought dropped in because I had something that's tender on my heart right now. And it's in my relationship. I'll just be transparent with my dad. And I won't share all the details because not needed. But the point being is sometimes that relationship for me, now some of you have an amazing relationship with your dad, but not maybe with your mom, or maybe again, you have both, whatever. But I just have a lot of old longing of wishing he would show up different for me, more connected to me, more emotional, more invested. Mm-hmm. And I haven't experienced a lot of what I would want. He loves me in his own way. Yeah. But I had this thought this morning, because again, this had been recently up over the weekend being Father's Day and some things like that. Wow, we are really just like, get on the couch. We are just going to lay it all on the couch today.
But it's what people relate to.
Right, but this is me just being real.
Thing.
And so maybe it's not your dad thing, but it's something else in your life. It's like, and I just had the thought, the freedom, because I think we're all after emotional freedom, inner peace, we'd maybe call that.
Yes.
Let your dad off the hook for your happiness.
That's a powerful statement. That's another one where I got to sit and think about, how does that feel?
Yeah.
Because
and again, maybe for all of you listening, it's not dad, but it's, who do you have on the hook? You need them to show up a certain way for you to feel happy, feel fulfilled. Some of you, my heart ached a little bit at a recent gathering with a friend of mine whose child's going on a church mission. And one of the parents got up and said, because this child had chosen to wait a year before going and made his own decision and so forth. And that's all their personal choice anyway. But this dad who has raised this beautiful, incredible kid, he's like my adopted kid, had gotten up and said in front of the whole group, I kind of felt like a failure. And I was like, isn't that interesting? An interesting story, because his son hadn't chosen right away to go on a church mission. It was a reflection. So it's like, who do you have on the hook that needs to show up for you in a certain way? Your child?
Yeah.
For you to feel like, oh, I'm good enough as a mom or a dad. Do you see how often we do this? Well, if so-and-so did this, or if I got, how many likes on Instagram's enough? Yes. 1 million likes won't be enough if you don't like yourself. I promise you that.
It is, because there's a difference between seeking validation.
100%.
And
so that was just this morning, right? We're talking about this morning. This is, again, me being a work in progress with the work was, what if I could let him off, my dad in my case, who I wish would show up for me differently, more intimately connected in a way that I like to be and do. What if I could let him off the hook for my happiness? I can. And it was just, oh, that's right. Back to me. Back to me. No matter who your mom or dad was, no matter your kids or you didn't have kids. Or, you know, it's like my boss or my person or the this or the that or my neighbor or this person or that thing. And it's just like, again, we all get to be kind and gentle to ourselves, but it's just being aware how often we're giving away our happiness and our power outside of us. And you're saying, well, until someone gives me permission, until someone gives me validation, right? Like the woman you were saying at this event who was really in it.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere didn't give her the validation she needed, and she's still carrying that around, not knowing she can let that go.
Yeah.
She can choose right now to say, I'm done with the story that I'm broken. Yes. It's just like if you've struggled forever, you know, it's like certain identities.
Yeah. That's, as you've been talking, that's all I've been thinking is, obviously being someone that works with clients with habits, it's, well, I can't get up early and exercise. I'm like, well, I was the person that told my kids who were a little bit older at the time, do not touch me before 8 a.m. unless you're on fire or someone's downstairs breaking in. Do not touch me. Because I didn't like to wake up early because I get in bed late. Well, now I'm up at 4:45 and 5:30. Yeah. Do you know how long it took me? I just woke up 15 minutes earlier over months. And I used to be the person that said, oh, I'm not a morning person. Right. Just like you said, I call them the I am statements also. Right. But now I can say I am someone that is a morning person. And so as you've been speaking of, I thought even with myself, because the question is great. It's easy to say, let's choose to be more confident, but then the action steps, right? What do I do to do that? And I think even before you start with action steps is you have to recognize you're changing the identity again of I am no longer someone that immediately puts myself down, or the first time you see a mirror, you see the negative, or assuming you can't do something, or I'm not going to get invited, or they're not going to like me, or not going to be good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or all the things that run through all of our heads is allowing yourself to say, I can be something different. Yeah. How does everyone around me view me? They would never say the things I say to myself in my head, right? They see all the positive things. That's why they love to be around you, and they're your support system. But for some reason, we say things differently, things I would never say to my daughters, and I wouldn't want them saying to themselves either. So it's deciding, just like you said, I am going to choose to be a different identity. But then it took me months to get the identity of someone that woke up early. It will take you who knows how long to transform yourself as you work on loving, forgiving yourself, peace. And one thing, just last thought with identity shift is I remember chatting with a friend years ago. We were on a girls' trip and she got kind of emotional. We were talking about kids and parenting, and she said, I could tell she was definitely flustered about something, and it finally kind of came out that I just don't feel like I'm a good mom. And at the time, neither of us worked. We both do now, but we were both stay-at-home moms. She has 3 kids. I've got 4. So that was like my identity, my role. Like my purpose was just to be this mom and to take care of these kids because I didn't have an out of the house job at the moment. So to her, it was everything. And she didn't feel like she was a good mom. So that can be relatable to your job, spouse, wherever you are, right? If the thing that you feel is so important, you don't feel like you're succeeding at, that's hard to take. And so she said that. And for one, I'm thinking, I'm friends with you because I want to learn from you. I always find people my friends are always better than me. Like I gravitate towards people that are good at things that I suck at, because there's no competition. Like if you're good at that, like I want to get better at that. Like let me learn from you. And then hopefully I can share something back. So I'm like, that's what I love about you. Like you're such a good mom. And I rattled off all these things. And she's like, well, thank you for saying that, but I'm still not. I'm like, so why are you choosing not to hear me? Why are you saying that? She said, well, because I yell and I get frustrated lately and I tend to see the negative and I'm just, I'm overwhelmed. And basically it boiled down to she's just not very patient. And so I said, so can I give you a secret? Like, you're a wonderful mom, but you're not a patient person. So it's okay to say, I am not a patient person right now. That's fine. I can fix that. That's doable. I can handle that. But to say I'm not a good mom, like that's heavy, as it would be with an employee or, what I'm doing with work. So when she stepped back and she's like, oh my gosh, okay, you're right. My identity, which she had built on this, is I'm not a good mom anymore, was wrecking her. And so it's shifting identity. And are we even viewing our identity correctly? So for then her to take the weight off of, oh my gosh, I am a good mom. Okay, like my whole essence, like I can breathe now. I feel better. Like I was thinking this was my identity, and every thought and feeling I had all day was around it. But ultimately, I just suck at being patient. Like I can handle not being patient. That's something I can work on. I can do. There's not as much weight or gravity. as this thing that was so important to her. And so then I had to stop and think about myself. Like when I'm down on myself, am I even viewing my identity correctly? Am I even looking at the right thing?
So true. I love that you had that conversation with her in just that space, because we can all, again, we have something that we can relate to that's like, oh, the way that we're navigating this.
Yeah.
But just coming back to, again, it's like, it's a choice. They're habits. How do I choose to see myself? What do I choose? What's the story I choose to tell?
Yes.
Right? Because that's what she's telling is a story. And all of us have stories. I remember years ago, I participated in a Tony Robbins event. It was actually, he was a guest speaker at someone's bigger event. But some of my clients at the time were in Las Vegas for a convention, a conference. They said, hey, we have an extra ticket. We'd love for you to come. These were friends from all around the world and had been coaching a lot in their direct sales company at the time. And Las Vegas, as you know, for us here in Utah, is a real fast flight.
Yes.
I pop into Vegas, short like 22 hours that I'm there, and we go to this Tony Robbins like 3-4 hour training event. And I remember something he said that night that was so profound that I'm still thinking about it and sharing it with you now years later. And he said something where he said, if you change your story, you can change your life. Change your story.
We choose how to feel about ourselves.
Change your story, change your life. And then he went on to ask this question. He said, what's the story you keep telling about why you don't have what you want? And I was like, dang, that's insightful.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Give me my
Boom.
journal.
Right? Write that down. What's the
on
story you keep telling of why you don't have what you want? And just being mindful, we're all storytellers. We're the ones, we're meaning-making creatures. We make things have meaning to them. Oh, I must be a terrible mom compared to who or what.
Yeah.
Because in your mind, you have an idea of what a great mom does. And in her mind, well, I would never yell if I was a great mom. Not true.
Yeah, we all yell.
Hey, guess what? You're human. So, or you might like, I have a story. If I was truly a great mom, I'd have a home cooked meal on the table by 5 o'clock every night. And you can either change the belief on that or change the behavior. Yeah, you could literally design your whole day to have a home cooked meal on the table by 4:59 when the clock hits 5 and live up to some imposed idea of what you make that mean.
Yep.
And just realize you keep telling a story. I know for me, like you, we both had been married and divorced previously. For some people, a divorce is liberation. It's a great opportunity of growth. Sometimes when people say, oh, I've got divorced or I'm getting divorced, I love to say, I'm sorry and congratulations.
Yeah.
Right? Because I assume if they're in that place and position, and again, if they tell me more about that, where they're at, but it's like the story. We've met people who've been divorced for 20 years, but they talk about it with so much anger and vitriol and they're just so hurt still and angry, even though if it happened 20 years ago. And that's a choice. We can't, the truth of the matter, all of us, you can't control lots of things that may happen to you. Maybe you were betrayed by someone, a confidant or a business partner, or maybe a spouse cheated or certain things. We have huge empathy for this.
Yeah.
Or you had a health issue or an accident or something that, it's like, oh my gosh, because guess what? We're all human. None of us are getting out of this thing unscathed.
Yeah.
Like we all have our lessons, but we have choice of like what we make that mean and the ways that we can go, okay, what's this here to teach me? Great question I love to ask. What's the gift of this? Another great question to ask. Not to sidestep the grief, right? Because it's like we don't want to just polish over the grief. Sometimes if you've been through a major loss, feel the grief. Mm-hmm. But as my mom would say, don't build a house in hell if you're going through hell. She'd say, if you're going through hell, don't stop and build a house there.
That's a great perspective.
Right. You go through hell. You feel grief, right? You have loss. We had a loss in our family earlier this year that you know about. Yeah. And it was really challenging. So you don't just gloss over it like, well, there's a gift in it. Yeah. Like, no, you feel the grief first. And then, yes, but you keep moving forward like, okay, and what is the lesson, the gift, or what do I choose to do with this? And so, I mean, gosh, look how much we're into at this point. But I think coming home to this conversation is that no matter what's happening in your life circumstantially, in your relationships, give yourself that permission, choose into to say, I'm going to choose to take better care of me. When am I feeling my best? When am I love, sometimes we talk about your high self, even your future self's been around in personal development a little bit the last few years, like my future self. I even shared a quote yesterday that says, do something today that your future self will thank you for.
I love that.
Right? We love that mindset. But I've been loving this language the last 6 months of your favorite self. Who is she? Who's your favorite self?
I've never thought of that perspective either.
When you're your favorite self, who is she? And it's like, oh, she's done a workout.
Add that to your homework list for people.
Yeah.
Like
put that on your homework
in
list.
6 months, ideally, because I always ask like how you want to feel, move, and look from a health perspective. Where do you want to be in 6 months? And we work backwards. But I'm now going to start adding the identity mindset piece to that.
And you're like, who's my favorite self? And it's like, ooh, she's fun. She's playful. She's vibrant, radiant. She's kind. She's patient, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm always working on.
But it's like she's playful and fun and light. And it's like going back, I love, one of the scriptures that says, become like a little child. And I think a lot of wisdom is in that, is come home to being lighter. Get out your joy list. Do things that bring you joy. Do the things that are like, hey, having my hair done and putting on a cute outfit, even if I am a, quote, stay-at-home mom or I home office. So I get that. I know I feel better, work better, I'm more productive if I still take the time to do my hair, do my makeup, even if I stay in my cute leggings and my athleisure, but I've taken the time to get ready, I feel better and show up better. And it's just being more mindful to say, I'm going to intentionally nourish this relationship. Now, some of you, I've had this prompting come 3 times, so I'm going to honor it. Some of you are waiting for permission. Someone else to tell you that, again, you're enough or you can do this thing or whatnot. And it's really you choose. I remember years ago, Jess, I was at a business event I was speaking at, right? I get booked to speak at all kinds of events. And this is probably 10 plus years ago. And there was a couple of booths at this conference, as they have sometimes, right? Vendor booths. And this gentleman who I knew of lightly in my network area, he approached me after I gave this talk. And he came up to me and he said, how did you become a speaker? Always wanted to be a speaker, and he's a great, well-known coach, like really talented coach. He said excuse me, he's looking at me and he's like, how did you become this speaker? And I looked at him and I promise I wasn't being a smarty pants because I have that part of my personality. But I just looked at him and I said, because I decided to.
You showed up.
And he looked at me and he kind of blinked and he was like, what? And he's like, yeah, because I decided to. And then he went, oh, I get it. Because often in life, we're waiting for someone else to tell us, you're talented, you're enough. We want to be scouted maybe. Versus realizing it's just choice. We get to choose. You get the opportunity to choose that.
That's our homework.
Right?
So with that, the thought that comes to mind, and this is where my brain goes being a coach, is when I share something kind of like a thought or a to-do, you always get people that come back with questions with their unique situations. Yeah. And sometimes they're valid, sometimes it's not. It's just the story they're telling themselves. But for those that are in situations where they have people that are telling, or that's what they're hearing, either way, you're not enough or you're not good, it's hard to say, well, then leave that relationship. Find someone that values you. Yeah. But a lot of times I feel like that, I was thinking of any obstacle that could come from them being us, all of us working on becoming our best self, our favorite self, believing in ourselves, looking in the mirror and seeing, what we've accomplished instead of what we haven't accomplished. Even at the end of the day, laying in bed, it's like, crap, I didn't get this, or this done. That's what I think. Instead of like, Jess, you're on your own with all these kids. You did good today. You got this, and this done, and you survived, and you even shaved your legs. Like, it is a win. You got 2 showers in today. But we only immediately think the negative. So I guess with that question, one of the last questions I want to ask you is, what are the action steps? If we can kind of rope that into, if maybe you don't have the most supportive people in your group, right, around you, but what are other actionable items to help work towards getting to where we would like to be, where we're at peace? We don't have to love or even celebrate all the things about ourselves yet, but just be like, I love you. I'm okay with where you are. Work in progress. Yep. You mentioned like walks and journaling. What are some things you found that have helped you, or even those you've coached and clients with all of these things that can distract us from getting to that place? Any tips or thoughts 100%. To share?
So let's talk about 3 habits that we can establish immediately that are action that will put you more in the flow and the alignment to, I'm taking better care of me and I therefore feel better, more likely, because I'm doing the habits that produce the feelings. Again, a lot of times we wait to feel the feeling to take the action, and we're just reinventing that, reversing it.
Say that one more time, because I think that's going to stop a lot of people.
Right.
Say that one more time.
A lot of times we're waiting to feel the feeling to take the action, where ironically the action will produce the feeling.
Yes. Do the hard thing.
Like, how do you feel after a workout? But you may not always feel like doing the workout, but it's like, I'm going to do the action regardless. And then the action creates the feeling.
Yes.
Right. So for me, when I was transitioning my relationship with fitness, I would mentally sometimes pre-see or rehearse. We call that visualization, or Joe Dispenza calls it mental rehearsal. I would mentally see myself post-workout with the glow, the workout glow. I'm feeling good. I feel my
Remind
body.
yourself.
And that would help me more likely take the action to then get the feeling. But let's talk about 3 simple actions you can begin immediately that will help start to raise your sense of self-confidence. Number 1 is start your day with a morning ritual. And I call it morning ritual, not power hour, not something else, but even what I call the sacred 10. The first 10 minutes of your day is in something that nourishes you. And nourishment is the key word. Mind, body, heart, spirit. That might be prayer, meditation. That might be gratitude journaling. That might be getting up and going for that walk. That might be reading or listening to something positive. That might be having a cup of coffee on your porch, watching the sunrise and really being present with God's beauty, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But you start your day with something that is a deposit into you and nourishes you. The majority of humans are starting their day on their technology or immediately in mom or dad mode.
It's immediately, oh, great. Let me scan through how many emails I got through the night.
Right. So, but consider this. Can we just break this down for just a minute? Most of you, again, not all of you, are laying in bed. Some of you might have pajamas on. Some of you might be naked. But you're laying in bed and you grab your phone. And the biggest lie of our smartphones is just real quick.
Yeah.
Isn't it the biggest lie?
I'm like,
Just
I have
real
2
quick.
minutes to wait for like the thing in the microwave to cook.
Yeah.
40 minutes later, I can tell you the craziest stories about people I have. Well, I have to finish and see how it ends.
Just real quick.
Oh my gosh, 3 minutes gone.
Right.
Never to get back.
And so your phone, and I do use my phone for my alarm. I now have the habit where I turn my alarm off and just put it face down. But that took some time. In the beginning, I put a Post-it note over on my phone screen. Hi, sweetheart. Let's start our day with you. Hi, sweetheart. Again, kind, self-talk.
Talk to yourself. It's never thought of that.
Right? Little Post-it note when you're trying to establish the habit is morning ritual first. Let's read or pray first, right? So again, I'm not saying you need a full hour. I say 10 minutes, maybe it's 6 minutes, but at least you start your day with doing something that nourishes you. Prayer, meditation. Now that might be after you get up and use the restroom, right?
Yeah.
Right. I got to pee first.
Yeah,
I get
that's
you.
my
Real,
main.
real talk.
Yep.
But then it's like, hey, I'm going to read, listen, journal, or get my tennies on and put them out, quickly get out the door and get on a walk, where I'm doing something that nourishes me first. Because most people start their day laying in bed with pajamas or naked, and they grab their phone. And again, just real quick, biggest lie ever, they're like, I'm just going to check. And you might see there's 3 or 4 or 5 texts that have come in. And you're just going to scan them really fast. Even if you don't reply to the text, your brain just opened like 5 attention units to make even a split decision. Do I read that text now or later? Then you go, well, I'm going to look at my email because I can see I have new email. You pull up your email. Now let's say there's 20 new emails. Some of you have 50 emails. Some of you have 7. But let's say there's 20 new emails and you're going to check them, quote, real quick. Even if, again, you just scan them to see what are ads, what's actually client, or maybe something I need to respond to. And now just real quick, you're going to scroll Instagram. And even if, like me, probably like you, I follow a lot of inspiring people on Instagram. Cool. But I also have no idea what I might see and in people's stories. But let's say between stories and feed, you now just saw 25 accounts. And since I checked Instagram, I might as well check TikTok real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Or
it's all the
Facebook or
bases.
LinkedIn or insert, right? Threads, Twitter, whatever. And now let's say before you've even gotten out of bed, you now imagine those 5 people off text came in your bedroom. Those 20 people off email came in your bedroom. Those 25 people off Instagram are in your bedroom, right? Those 25 people or so, or however many, and another 5 or 10 here. Let's say now it's the equivalent of 75 people are in your bedroom because they are energetically.
Yeah. They're on my mind. I'm already thinking of what to say, what to respond with. Crap, I got that confrontation I need to talk to her about.
Would most of those people you invite in your actual physical bedroom?
I don't want them anywhere near my house.
Right. No, they'd be out at the curb,
Yeah.
right? Not even in your living room, let alone kitchen or in your bedroom. But energetically, you just started your day with 75 people and all that energy. And sometimes the energy is positive. Sometimes it's mixed. Sometimes it's flat out negative. So again, we're not wrong for that. I want to make sure we clean up any energy of judging yourself, because more self-love isn't fueled by, well, I got to beat myself into this.
Yeah.
But is having a different vision. How do you want to start your day? What's your ideal day look like? And how does my ideal day begin? And for me, it's going to begin with God. And it's going to begin with peace and things that nourish me, with dreams and goals and vision. And so again, might be 7 minutes, 10 minutes, might be 25 minutes. But for me, that looks like reading from a certain devotional book, a couple other things that I read, get connected to. And then I might check my phone. I'm still laying in bed. I might still choose to do that. But I've started my day with some kind of nourishment that helps me. So number one is start your day with you. You start your day within positive, like I'm nourishing me. And that could be physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, but I'm doing something that nourishes me. Now I move into mom mode, if applicable, or I move into businesswoman mode, right? But I've done those things first. I want to start my day first. So that's number one. Number two, I'm a big believer of something we've already talked about, is to move your body every day. About 5 years ago, I made that declaration. I move my body every day. Mm-hmm. Notice the language doesn't say I will or I want to. Yeah. I move my body every day.
Your identity now.
Yeah, it's identity. And so some days, again, that's a 20-minute walk. Some days it's a 60-minute sweat session. Some days it might be a 10-minute walk, right? Or 30 minutes of yoga. It's not about the quantity of time, but it's the habit that's happening every day, the consistency. And getting out on a walk, there's so many studies, as you know, right? About how walking and how important just to move, like movement. Sedentary is the new smoking. But to make the commitment to say, I'm going to move my body every day. I might get on my Peloton bike. That's what I might sometimes do. Yeah. I might go to a class. I might pull up my app and work out with Jess. I might do, this session or segment or this thing or get on a trail. But I'm going to do some kind of movement every day. We know the body-mind connection is so powerful. And again, if we want to feel more confident, one of the ways you feel more confident is you prioritize yourself and your needs. So daily movement becomes like you're consistent. Mm-hmm. Even again, if it's 10 minutes that day, because there are some days from sun up to sundown, right? That's not the day I'm getting in the gym for an hour. But I'm going to get in at least a walk or some kind of movement.
And you always feel better.
Always feel
Even
better.
if it's 5 minutes. For one, it's just merely checking something off our list, feeling like you accomplished it, and then you really do genuinely feel better.
Mm-hmm. So true. The third habit I'd say begin today or recommit to is some form of gratitude journaling, right? It's the power of focusing on what you're grateful for and being grateful, but including yourself in that. I'm grateful for showing up for myself, getting on my walk. I'm grateful for this, that, or the other. But that you acknowledge that. And for years, I've been doing a process that I've now put into my own journal. And it's a combination of gratitude and visualization or visioning work of what you want to manifest. Mm-hmm. And so I have my own journal now called My Creation Journal. You can find it on Amazon. It's $19.95. And it's about the 3/4 of the page are gratitudes. And you can fill up one side or two sides or multiple. I mean, it's just blank space. But it's like, what am I grateful for? And the gratitude, because again, mindset, rather than focusing on what's missing. And sometimes I do my gratitude journal at the end of the day and kind of acknowledge the day. You can do it any time of day. But having a gratitude habit or journaling will help too. And so my process is all the things you're grateful for, from small things like, oh my gosh, I'm loving spring and all these different vibrant colors, to, again, I got on a great walk today or had a great time with Jess today, ate a great meal, grateful for good friends, my bed, self-tanner. As a, very fair-skinned person, I am very grateful for self-tanner.
For lots of things.
I'm grateful for dry shampoo, like variety of things, from really deep things to small things, but, gratitude. And then my journal moves into, what are you manifesting? I am manifesting like 3 new clients this week, or a healthy, fit body, right? Or this weight, or this dress size, or this muscle mass, or, this person or love or connection or deep friendships into my life.
That's a great point when you say manifest, because I hear that buzzword here and there, and I hadn't honestly really thought about it until I got divorced last year, and it was like, I've got to create a new life.
Yeah.
What do I want? It's a new identity, right? Yeah. It's not me and him anymore. It's just me, and then healing. But I love how you said that the second you said that, it struck me, if I want to create a new identity, which seems kind of harder or large or like, I don't know, something that might be challenging to do, but it isn't. It's just a habit, right? It's just that I am now saying I can do this versus this. And I think we've all experienced it to some degree in our life with something, but it really is, it's becoming, you have to visualize where you want to be in 6 months, like we've said. And if I don't visualize and think I can do it 100%, I'm not going to do it because your brain will tell you that. Right. So I love what you say, that like visualize, manifest, and say in 6 months, I will have accomplished this. And it could be anything from getting laundry done once a week, you know, if that's something you struggle with and you feel like you're a failure, right? I mean, it can be anything within relationships to work, to health and fitness, but I have to tell myself, I will do that. I'm going to do it. And every day I think of becoming the person that does that without
that you visit your vision. Can I share this on
yes,
camera?
That's what I was gonna.
So this is my journal, right? This little beauty that we created last year. But
exactly what do they type in Amazon to find this?
Just my creation journal.
Okay.
And it's really, again, easy to find. That's the only place you can find it is Amazon. So we don't have you go 8 different places. But in the journal, you can see this little graph, right? And at the center there, you can see it says manifesting my dreams. And then there's 3 core ingredients: vision, like what she's talking about. Who am I going to be? Where am I going?
You have to believe you're going to be able to do it.
What do I want to create? Without vision, I believe strongly in the language that says without vision, people perish, right? That vision is profound for all of us. And without vision, man or woman simply just repeats what's familiar. In other words, your past self, right? If I want new identity, new experience, I have to have vision of where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so part of the journal is you visit your vision regularly, consistently, where it becomes more second nature. Then the second part there, it says the gratitude practice, which we were just discussing. And then the third piece is inspired action. And so this is what a daily page looks like. And so you're just filling this out. Gratitudes, what are you manifesting? And then 1 or 2 or 3 inspired actions that you want to take, right? Is moving forward on. So let's say I'm grateful for all these things. Gratitude is a great primer for manifestation because you get in this abundance, more of so of an abundant mindset. Now, here's a really important reminder. I don't always feel grateful, Jess.
Yeah.
I don't. But I get out the journal and I do the practice. Remember that often you're waiting for a feeling before you follow through. I'm going to still write my gratitude journal even on the days I don't feel grateful. Likely, not always, but more often than not, it will shift me because I'm focusing. What we focus on expands. I focus into gratitude. Now I'm feeling more abundant, and now I drop back into vision. Who am I becoming? Who's my favorite self, my radiant self? How am I showing up in my marriage today? How am I showing up with friends today or in my work? That new course or that new book I'm writing or launching, or, you know, the healthy fit version of me. I'm attracting this, I'm manifesting that, or new clients. Now, what's one action I can take that moves me in the direction of my radiant, favorite, vibrant self, you know, in business and in life and so forth? And it's like, oh, take that action, go to that class or do this thing or call so-and-so. It's fascinating how you watch that. But that's why I called it my creation journal versus it'll just be a gratitude journal. It was like, no, gratitude's one ingredient, but it is a powerful one that helps you shift into feeling more of the emotions and feelings you want to feel. So again, when we say I want to feel more confident, great, start your day with you. Move your body every day. If I just pick 3, right, we could go on to 7 of these things, right? But it's just, and then move into the power of, again, gratitude will help shift your state. Where you're like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I listened to this podcast today, you know, and that I heard a few gems and takeaways. I'm grateful for my home and for clean water. I'm grateful for, you know, gummy bears to self-tanner to I got a good parking spot today. Who knows? All the things. But it's just choosing to say, okay, I'm going to focus on that. I think the biggest takeaway I want people to receive today is that you are a powerful creator. No matter what life is right now, circumstantially, where you've come from, the brokenness, the hurt, the wounds, the self-doubt, the insecurities, the hurt feelings, we all have them. But you are a powerful creator, and to take ownership back to, I choose to have a better relationship with me. I'm going to be kinder with me. I'm going to be more intentional with that relationship and the words I speak, the thoughts I think. I'm going to take better care of me, mind, body, heart, and spirit. But I'm going to be mindful of that, knowing that you choosing to invest in you, change you, will literally help change your whole life. Your sales and income, the relationships, what you're attracting, opportunities. Now, it's never going to be, quote, perfect, but these are tools and ways I'd say come back and listen to this show 2 or 3 times because we've literally packed like so much into one show.
Well, and even what I've learned from you, and that's the best part of having people on, I go home with my own homework and I feel edified. It's like, okay, I can do this better. And the thing that stands out the most is it's a choice. And let's step back. How many times do we tell either our kids or our spouses or employees that we're with, why are you still feeling that way? Like, I've got one child that will be upset about something that likes to sustain it. And so I will say, okay, do you want me to listen or help you problem solve? She's like, I just want you to listen. I'm like, great, I'll listen to whatever the drama it is. She's young. How long, like, I will like take a minute and be upset about this, but then you got to choose to move on. Because do you want to continue feeling upset for the whole rest of your day? You're going to waste the whole day. She's like, well, sometimes I just like to feel upset. I'm like, well, that's great. But then you can't let it impact the rest of us. And you've lost your whole day feeling that way. So like, own it, sit in it, be upset for a moment. Like you said, grieve over situations. But then we choose to like, I've got to let this go, or I've got to get out of it, or I've got to work around it, or choose it to see it differently. And these are all very, very easy things to say. Doing them is more challenging.
Right.
But everything comes down to, like you said, is a choice. And I never necessarily thought like, well, self-confidence is a choice. I just thought maybe it's your surrounding environment or people. But think where you'd like to be in 6 months. Like literally like standing in front of a mirror. What's the first thing that you tend to think of when you look at yourself or feel? And then if you don't like if you don't want your daughter saying that about themselves in 6 months, what do you want to look in the mirror and think and feel? And then it's the action steps of taking time to get to know you and what you're good at and grateful for, and prioritizing you and realizing, I think the other thing you have to choose to just say is literally, again, all choices it keeps coming back to is like, I'm choosing to believe I'm enough. It doesn't mean I have to be the smartest, fastest, richest, skinniest, most perfect person.
Right.
I am special and unique. And whether I'm 6 feet or the awkward junior high, to wrap this back up, where I didn't feel like I fit in at all. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't do anything. And I just thought, how come everyone else can do all these things? Like something must be wrong with me. Nobody's going to want to date me or be friends with me. And we each though have our own individual worth and value. And again, like if I could just I tell my girls this all the time, like I take their faces in my hands. I'm like, do you realize you're enough? It's gonna make me cry. Like you are enough. So don't let anything around you spoil that knowledge and that peace that comes from in. You may not be the best at everything, but you're not supposed to be. Like you itself are special and you are enough. And that's for the tired, beat down, stay-at-home mom with all the kids that doesn't sleep, right? Covered in, oh my gosh, food and chips and hasn't been dressed in 3 days. Like I went through that whole stage for years, to the mom that's working so hard and then trying to manage house and then sleep. And then, from parents to full-time employees, to all the things that we're doing, all the chapters, like no matter what those things are, whether they're happening or not happening the way you want them to, you're still enough. That doesn't impact
100%.
your self-worth. To come back to how you started this was, no matter if you're failing at your job or you feel like motherhood's not going great or your marriage, you are still worthy.
100%.
You are still enough.
Right. And your feelings, they will ebb and flow, but your worth doesn't.
No.
And it's how do I choose though, is what are the actions and the habits that will help create the feeling, right? And so you think about those things. But I just love your tender heart and the way that you would speak to your own girls. And now it's like even pulling that into yourself is like the same energy you have for them.
I got to remember that too.
It's like, I see you, Jess. I love you. I value you. Protect that, right?
Yeah.
And that we choose to say, I'm going to, show up for myself in that way. And again, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But it's just realizing that where you're at today and your confidence may be rocking right now. Keep doing the things and the habits, the thoughts and the habits and behaviors that are reinforcing that. And maybe it's in the low of lows and maybe it's somewhere in between, but just realizing that it's like, okay, everything I want in my life or desire to experience more of, how do I help myself be more rooted, stronger in me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it, that I can have more of what it is that I'm expanding into what I desire, because I'm the nucleus, I'm the power plant, so to speak, and I'm going to invest in me, nourish me, and that will help influence everything else for the positive.
Oh, that's so powerful. It is. And I realize it's not going to happen overnight, and it's shifting the identity, and especially if you don't have necessarily a support network around you that's feeding it.
Speaking of that, you mentioned environment, because it's so true, the environment you hang out in. But if you're listening to podcasts like this, keep doing things like this.
Yeah.
Spend time listening, even if you're not surrounded by tons of quote successful people or positive thought-minded people, and maybe that was not the home life you grew up in. We live in a day and age today where there's so much information accessible. Listen to a podcast like this. Hang out in spaces. Maybe some of you What you need to do is maybe clean up who you're following on social.
Yes.
Maybe if there's negatives or things, or even certain friendships or relationships, maybe you need to spend less time there. Not because anything other than you're just more intentional is what lights you up, what feeds you positively, what helps you be more in alignment to your best self, highest self, favorite self, and spend more time with people and places and activities that put you more often in that lane.
Yep.
Right? Because I have certain, from my own life, like you only have so much time and who gets time and so forth. I'm just much more intentional about where my time gets invested. But you can be mindful of that environment because I get it. Many of you listening might say, well, I don't have the most supportive family or friends or partner. Yeah. Great. Keep putting yourself in environments where that environment of who you follow, what you listen to, where you hang out absolutely influences you, but you get to choose that too. Mm-hmm. You don't have to keep following or hanging out with anybody.
Yeah. Especially if
you're a grown up.
If they
you
don't make you feel good.
have to do anything you don't want to. It's all choice. Right? And then we could all have a whole other show into, well, there's shoulds and shoulds and shoulds. Do more of what lights you up. Do more of what fills you. Right? And that matters. And that will help. Again, it's the more you choose that will help give you more energy, more confidence. Then you'll have more confidence. You attract better things because it's like self-fulfilling.
Well, and that's the takeaway is this life, just like health and fitness, doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
You don't wake up and say, okay, I can squat, 45 pounds right now at the bar. I want to do 225. It's time and it's progression and it's working on those things, but I have to believe.
Right.
Like I don't start squatting without the thought of I'm going to do it. Because can you imagine if I'm like, I'm going to get to, which I would never, which is why I would pick such an unrealistic number. But if I want to squat 225, I better well believe like I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. I am going to do it. I'm capable of doing it. And that's why I'm working towards it because I know I can accomplish it. And I'm just going to practice every single day to get there.
Yeah.
So think of like, if you want to be able to paint a beautiful picture, you go to classes because eventually you're going to get good enough to paint the painting. You have to visualize it, manifest it, believe it, choose to do it. And so take that, I guess, as conclusion with the same thought of all that we've talked about, loving yourself, accepting yourself, healing if someone close to you that should have been your support system isn't being your support system, and choosing that, okay, I can be different. I can do more. And then you show up as that person.
100%. So good. Thank you so much for having me. Like, what a rich conversation. I just feel like, gosh, we could talk for hours. So thank you for having me, though. And I just love the work you're doing in the world, who you are, how you show up for me, how you show up for everyone. Just, you're such a bright light. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And now you see why I had to have you. And when I talk to you, it's like, pick whatever you want to talk about. Because literally anything you want to discuss will have a million offshoots and will be what people need to hear. And this is exactly what I was hoping for. And anyone listening can tell the genuineness of you just radiate is a perfect word when you use that, of wanting everyone else to find the same peace that you have felt. Mm-hmm. And so I love the homework assignments that you've given everybody. I'm going to do them myself. I encourage everyone, I have your journal also. Go to Amazon, find the journal, focus on the things that we can control, right? Which is focusing on positive. Where else can people find you?
My main hub website is tiffanyspeaks.com, and there's several free downloads and gifts and things from self-care to sales, whatever you're working on in that regard. And then Instagram is Tiff Peterson currently, and my podcast is Apple and Spotify. There's lots of ways we can get connected.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Everything that I and everyone else will learn from you. So thank you for taking the time to come talk to us. And hopefully we can chat again. And that will be 6 months and we'll do a review. Like, okay, you thought of where you wanted to be. Are we there? Even just a small movement in the right direction. So
I love that.
I appreciate all your tips.
Love you, friend.
So thank you for sharing.